Dr. Greg here with a video that's going to start a series on not just the brain, but everything about the brain and why the brain is important, and sort of a theory that's out there that the body, our hands, our arms, our legs, our mouth, our digestive system, our heart, all that stuff is there to support the brain. So it's sort of like the brain is the key to our entire body, because everything, there's no exception, is connected to the brain. Everything has nerve cells, or what we call axons, or what you can call wires, are connected to the brain, and the brain controls it all. And we have a representation in the brain of every part of your body. Interesting thing is that if you think about walking or think about moving your arms or your legs, it's the same pathways of actually walking, actually moving your arms, actually moving your legs. Looking, all that kind of stuff is all about your brain. Sleep is about your brain. Eating is about your brain. Digestion is about your brain. Your heart rate is about all that stuff is about brain. So what I want to do is I want to break it down to the very basic level on this first video of the series. This is going to be educational. I want you to learn about your brain so that you have the power over how well your brain works. Because you can make your brain work really well. I'm sure you've heard of neuroplasticity, something called neurogenesis. I've talked about it many times, but the purpose of this series of videos is to give you a foundation to know where health is. When I was in chiropractic school, even medical school, they teach you what normal is. What is normal? So that when you know what normal is, you could tell what abnormal is. All right? So if you, as a patient, know what normal is and things are not going the way you think they should be feeling, you're going to know what abnormal is, the feeling abnormal, and you may understand where that is coming from, so you can actually direct your doctor to help you. So with that being said, the most basic thing I want to go through is the nerve cell. And the nerve cell is unique in the body, but it's typically all the nerves in your body have this kind of setup, okay? So this is a nerve cell, and just basically, this is the body of the nerve. This is the nucleus, this green thing. And this is the wires, or the axons. And these are the connections. So you can have a string of these. These connect to the body of other neurons and send sort of an electrical circuit through all around your body. And we're going to talk about where those connect, because those connect in some unique areas of the body called receptors. And we're going to talk about them. And there are all kinds of nerves in our body. There are small nerves, there are big nerves, there are inhibitory nerves, and there are excitatory nerves. So your body's set up with this neural network that develops as we grow older and as we mature. It sets it up in patterns and pathways that we can utilize quickly. So I can move my fingers, I can eat, I can digest, my heart rate goes at a normal level, my high blood pressure is normal. All those things are normal because this nerve functions. Now what is the most key part of making this nerve function properly? Now this is the first thing that I want you to learn. And we're going to obviously add more things to this, but this is the very basic level. This nerve needs three things to function normally. And you want the nerves of the brain or any other part of your body to function normally. And if you've listened to my other videos, you'll see what impacts the cell of the body and potentially impact the nerve negatively. So what are the three things it needs? The first thing it needs is activation. And what do I mean by activation? It needs to be stimulated. It needs to be worked. It needs to be moved. It needs to be influenced. And that is as simply as doing finger exercises or walking or running or looking at green trees or just looking at different things, looking at different distances, getting off the couch, moving. All that activates these nerves. And the reason that is the case is because we were sort of evolved that way. We have to activate these nerves in order to function. Your brain's purpose is to make your body move. And what does that mean? Make it move to collect food so that you can eat, so that you could feed your brain. And they do it through this. The brain does it through the nerve. The very first thing it needs is activation. The other two things that it needs is under the label of fuel. Fuel is two forms. One is oxygen and one is glucose, which is food, right? Now, I'm not talking about the glucose that you take a spoonful of sugar and that helps the medicine go down. That's not what I mean. It needs glucose that your body breaks down. And the brain breaks it down. It needs to do that. So when you digest food, real food, okay, not processed food, not food that's already broken down, you need to digest an apple, a piece of meat, whatever, vegetables. The brain needs to be activated to do that. You activate the food gets broken down by this. So that's also activation. Eating is also, moving your jaw, talking is also activation. Social interaction with people is also activation for this. So you need to break the food down to get the glucose to feed this. And what happens is the glucose comes along and it attaches to a receptor that is utilized by insulin, which is a hormone that takes that glucose, puts it in the cell, that's used by the nucleus and other what we call little organs in the cell, which I'm going to talk about in just the end of this video and what that is. I don't want to give you too much information each time, but I want you to understand we need activation. The next thing is glucose with food that you broke down, that your body broke down, that your brain broke down. It's very important that your brain is involved in breaking down the food because you activate it. The third thing is oxygen, right? That's the other fuel, is oxygen. And what does that mean? You got to walk. You got to exercise. You got to breathe heavy. You got to breathe. You got to breathe deep. And you can't breathe shallow and lots. So you got to fill those lungs up. Because you know what? That activates your brain too. When your lungs fill up, you activate your brain. You activate your breathing centers. You activate this. And that oxygen comes along, gets attached to a receptor in your brain, in your nerve cells, and it gets put in. And those two things, fuel and oxygen, combine to produce energy. And the energy is in the form of what we call ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. You don't have to remember that, but just remember ATP. ATP is what makes this run, okay? And that's when you can activate. So you can't activate without fuel, and you can't use fuel without activation. Sounds crazy, but that's how it's set up. So activation, fuel, which is glucose, and oxygen need to come together to make this work normally, so your blood pressure is okay, your digestion's okay, your sleep is okay, your thinking is okay, you're not fatigued all the time. That's the building block of health. If you just exercise every day, eat good food every day, you're going to be fine. Now, if you're sick now, is it going to change overnight? No, because this has been affected for a long period of time. The longer you're ill, the longer it is to get better. That's just the way it is. You could take a pill to get better. You could take supplements to feel better. But they're not going to resolve the issue that is this. If this is not working well, doesn't matter what you do, it's going to continue to cause a problem, even if you take medication and supplements. You have to get those three things normalized in your life in order for this to work normal. And that goes for every part of your body. Now, the powerhouse, the engine room, the manufacturer of energy in the cell, in every cell, not just the nerve cell, but in every cell of your body, is called the mitochondria. The mitochondria needs oxygen and it needs fuel or foods, glucose, that you break down in order for it to produce ATP. I'm going to show you how this cycles. We're going to talk about the mitochondria in another video, but what you need to understand is just the three things again, and I'm reiterating, is activation, get your butt off the couch; oxygen, get your butt off the couch; glucose, eat good food, food that your body and your brain breaks down. That's important. Now, there you go. That's the start of our lesson. The nerve cell needs those three things to function normally, so everything in your body functions normally. If your brain is doing a good job, outside of breaking your leg or getting stabbed or shot, whatever, your body's going to be okay. Even the CDC says that 85%, and I gather probably 90%, of diseases in the United States is lifestyle. And that means you're not getting the three things that you need for this nerve to operate normally. You need this to happen in order for you to be healthy. Activation, glucose, oxygen. That's as simple as it gets. So with that, this is Dr. Greg, changing the way you look at health.